How real is your freedom of thought and conscience, the right to express yourself in public? If you're interested, you're most welcome to think with me. Traditionally and theoretically, it is readily conceded that individuals cannot be granted unfettered freedom. The very origin of the state is explained in terms of the contract entered into by citizens and citizens among themselves to create a body invested with special authority to regulate individual behavior so that society does not degenerate into chaos. The theory of Hobbes and Rousseau, theory of social contract. So there is a contract. Now, contract is the law that binds human beings, individuals, within a framework of duties, obligations, as well as rights and privileges. So, obviously, this is a condition that modifies individual freedom. Of that, there is no doubt. You can't live in any organized form of existence or participate in any organized activity without uh, an appropriate requisite reduction of your personal freedom or your um, indulgence in your likes and dislikes as you please. So this goes without saying. Of this, there can't be any debate or doubt. Now the question is, where should the balance rest? There are two factors here. One is personal freedom, the other is social control, or as in the present context, the state control. Now, personal freedom has always existed, as I said a short while ago, within a framework of modification. The factors that regulated all along personal freedom can be very quickly mentioned. One is custom. Now, if you're living in a society, you have to abide by its customs and practices. Otherwise, you incur the risk of being excluded from the society or ostracized by it. So, customs. Customs have more or less binding effect or impact on individual freedom. The other is law. Law has the authority to force you to compromise your freedom, your unfettered freedom, so as to make your behavior harmonize with what is considered as public good or the law and order requirements of a society. A third factor that regulates individual conduct is public opinion. Now, we know that we are living at a time when the power of public opinion is increasing. In fact, has reached an all-time high. But as regards public opinion, it would be very interesting to reflect on it or think about it for a little while. No one really, everyone experiences the pinch of public opinion. Everybody knows that it is out there. Everybody knows that it's continuously operating upon everybody. But what is this public opinion? Quite frankly, public opinion is generated by a very, very small segment of the society. Therefore, it's a misnomer to call it public opinion as opinion of the public. It is not opinion of the public. It is the sort of opinion that the public are obliged to imbibe and abide by. But it is not public opinion in the sense that the public has anything to do with manufacturing it or creating it or putting it in circulation. What comes to be recognized as public opinion is actually formulated or manufactured by a very small nucleus of people and who always represent either an entrenched interest of the social class or political class, or in some contexts, even religious class in a society, or the interest of a class that is now ascending in its influence. Either a class that has had a long term influence, long term position of privilege, power, dominance, or in the context of a social change, you will see that public opinion changes very dramatically in the context of social changes. For example, the people whose ways were held up to be normative standard, belonging to the past, now come to be discredited. And the ways of the new social bloc, economic bloc, or political party that is ascendant, which is becoming more and more powerful, that will become the norm. That will, and public opinion will immediately change accordingly. So, for all practical purposes, public opinion is the opinion created in order to influence the public to be in conformity with the likes and dislikes, the ways and the priorities of the dominant class, the dominant political group, and the dominant cultural, social, economic elite. Now, so I have so far mentioned three factors. One is custom, the other is law, third is public opinion. Now, there is a fourth one which has absolutely no legal standing, no public accreditation, no moral justification, no cultural sanction, but it operates now far more powerfully than ever before. I began to be acutely aware of it through the vilification that I am now being subjected to whenever I make a video of some political interest. Frankly, my interest to begin with was not political. I happened to stray into political subjects because, after all, politics is an important aspect of life. And spirituality is a comprehensive perspective. Therefore, every aspect of human life has a relevance to the spiritual perspective. So, we are looking at political issues, personages, patterns, etc., only from a spiritual angle. That's the reason why I cannot align myself to any political camp, though neutrality is a luxury that is no longer allowed. Therefore, even if you are, as far as you are concerned, neutral, objective, non partisan, always a label of partiality will be stuck very prominently on your forehead, and you have no choice in this matter. Now, as you would have seen from the column, the comment box, there are certain individuals who have deliberately penetrated this channel in order to carry out their ideological sabotage of whatever intentions and whatever sense of purpose I have in sharing my thoughts with all of you. And some of these responses are so vulgar, so uncivilized, so boorish, so lumpen, that I delete them before you can have a look at them, because to me it's an experience of desecration to use words in this manner. I've been a teacher of language, and I've come to respect language to perhaps to an excessive degree. Therefore, when I see people either distort words or use corrupt and subhuman sentiments and formulations, or respond in utterly irrational ways, abusive ways, I feel sorry for them. And I also feel sorry for my viewers who have to be exposed to this. Therefore, I happen to delete some of them. Perhaps I should not. But what I want to bring to your notice is this. What distinguishes persons in this category is that they have absolutely no respect for personal liberty. Even after the limitations of custom, law, and public opinion, there will still be a small elbow room left for personal freedom. The freedom to think, the freedom to communicate within the bounds of civilization, within the and under the discipline of reason, common sense, and fair play. Some small patch of freedom, personal liberty is still left. And the mission of these infiltrators is to try and abolish even that small little foothold of personal liberty that is still left to individuals like me. Now, Prime Minister Modi, in his speech in, in Rajasthan, he said he characterized a particular community as infiltrators, Ghusbaitia, infiltrators. Yes, there are infiltrators in our midst. But going by my experience, the infiltrators are not only members, are not members of that community only, but also the camp followers of a certain party who will not respect anybody's freedom to think, say, or share anything which does not have their approval. Now, that is the reason why I'm saying that what is right and what is not, what is permissible and what should not be permissible. All these are fluid categories, though in a stable society, a person gets the feeling that these are settled categories. They're anything but that. They are very, very fluid categories. And they're subject to revision, sometimes radical and sweeping revision, depending on the extent of changes, social, political, economic, cultural changes that a society undergoes. Now, as of now, what otherwise would be considered very innocuous, harmless, legitimate, logical, commonsensical thought processes strike certain people as subversive, anti national, unlawful, offensive, and they descend on that particular freedom like a ton of bricks. So, it's a very interesting phenomenon to reflect upon, to try and understand the psychology behind, and also the political, social realities that it points to. As of now, complete asymmetry exists as far as personal freedoms are concerned. Those who are on the side of the ruling party, those who are in favor of and supportive of the ruling dispensation, enjoy unlimited freedom. They can say and do what they want, including protection from the legitimate action of law enforcing agencies. That is why certain parties referred to as the washing machine party or something. Whereas those who do not toe the line of the dispensation suffer not the risk alone, but the reality of their personal freedom, the freedom to think and to share within the bounds of law, common sense, legitimacy, civility, cultured dialogue, so on and so forth. Even that little bit of elbow room is abolished, but not by law, not by public opinion, not by custom, not by any of the recognized categories of social control, but by this most unlawful, unwritten, at the same time extremely powerful means of social control. So that is what I experience from day to day, and I am drawing your attention to this not as in the form of a complaint, but in order to reflect based on a particular reality. To me, every experience, every state of affairs is an invitation to think. So that's the only reason why I thought I'd draw this to your attention. So I mentioned four factors that modify personal freedom. One is custom, the traditional mores. The second is law. Third is public opinion. Fourth is this private, offensive, private um, incursion, the incursion of the public in the form of a private incursion into the sacred domain of personal freedom, as in the case of the cyber gundas that attack you when you share with the people who are inclined to listen to you um, certain insights and thought processes. Now, the interesting thing is that nobody has asked them to come. This is actually a private domain. A YouTube channel run by an individual is a private domain, and there is no way I can force my opinion upon anybody. This is a medium of free choice. Those who listen to me do so voluntarily on their own without any force being applied to them. So, when this process is being attacked and interfered with, it's not only my freedom of thought that's being attacked, but also the freedom of thought, expression, sharing, the right to think, the right to understand, all of which are important aspects of personal liberty, that all those who are part of this YouTube fellowship are by law entitled to. As of now, on the basis of any of the factors, the three factors that I mentioned, namely custom, law, and public opinion, this process is not unlawful or an activity to be abhorred. It enjoys on paper and theory all the legitimacy it should have. So we are involved in something perfectly legitimate, well within the rubrics of law. There's absolutely nothing subversive, nothing irrational that's involved in this process. But it will be, and it is being most wildly and malignantly attacked. Um, so that individuals are denied even that modicum of personal liberty that is still left after all these different modes of social control. Now, this excessive control within which individuals have to live finally will be counterproductive to the long term interests of society, because history tells us that in a society where individual liberty is under attack, freedom of thought is constrained, and therefore the capacity to think freely and to innovate and to explore newer territories, to be free in the mind, that has severe, terrible long term consequences for a society, because it suppresses imagination, it cripples the power of thought, and it kills the power of innovation, which is of extreme importance in the industrial progress and therefore ultimately the economic prosperity of a country. So, when free thought is suppressed, it's not merely the individual who suffers, the country as a whole will suffer, because a culture that's harmful or inimical or intolerant of free thought will also destroy its economic future, because a country of mental slaves cannot innovate, cannot invent, cannot explore newer territories, and therefore it will lose out to other countries where freedom of thought and expression is respected. So it's not for nothing that all the codes of human rights ever evolved from Magna Carta in the 17th century onwards recognizes freedom of thought and expression as fundamental to personal liberty. And it's a pity if that's being denied to citizens, and citizens who do not happen to or who do not wish to toe the official line but would like to preserve a small little elbow room of free and independent thought, with malice towards none and goodwill towards all. If that is now considered something to be attacked, vilified, and browbeaten, it's a very sad day indeed. Well, I wait to hear your opinion on the matter. Thank you very much.